to cynically exploit their workforce for the sake of a fast buck? Are the plaintiffs hostile to trade unions?
We believe companies should be profitable. It's a profit fantasy the only principle. And in the case of McDonald's, it seems to be absolutely the overriding consideration. We can't afford that when they promoted from McDonald's. It seems breaking down the central public operations and football is essentially dehumanizing. In McDonald's kitchen, it's deliberately designed to control workers and offer as little initiative and creativity and voice to workers as possible. It's basically treated like cogs in a machine. It's illegal, and workers be exceedingly replaceable. Interchangeable workers exceed expectation of the workforce. Cheap workers, low skill, low pay, high turnover, high stress, no benefits, exhausting and unstable jobs. That's why these are called jobs.
I love the way you do it. Great.
Skilled workers have to be paid a decent wage. So by having so much elaborate high-tech machinery inefficient, the knowledge is being built into the operating system, and you're not relying on the knowledge of any individual worker, and you can get rid of whatever you want.
People want to be part of the movement. They want to be part of something successful. Hard work doesn't frighten people today. Not at all. They want to be part of something that's victorious, something they can see as the shining light.
Good morning. Welcome to Hamburg University. It's no surprise to me that as many as 2/3 of the fast food robbers are inside jobs, either by workers or former workers or friends of workers. When you're happy with your job, you don't generally try to hold up your employer at gunpoint.
Well, in Ontario, there's 2 minimum wages. There's one for under 18, which is lower than over 18. And McDonald's seems to hire huge amounts of under 18 because the wages are a lot lower.
The minimum wage in the United States right now, adjusted for inflation, is the lowest it's been in more than 50 years. So this is a pay cut for the poorest workers in the United States. The fast food industry has played a large role in ensuring that the poor get that pay cut, and the ripple effect you can see throughout society.
How many billions of dollars do they make profit in a year? You know? If you means you have that faster than employees.
When you have that in court, the judge kind of intervened and said, the company's owned by shareholders, and if the shareholders don't keep getting these profits, then they won't shareholders, and then the company will close down. He seems to be sort of completely judging it on their terms. Really entitled to put forward a different view and argue that we want a society that's not run for the benefit of shareholders, but that's run for the benefit of everybody.
When I was posting, I was secretary of our trade union branch and very involved in trying to improve conditions at work. I remember delivering letters to a McDonald's store, and when I saw how they treat their workers, that's when I first thought there's something really got to be.
If somebody amongst the crew was a member of a union, or wished to be a member of a union, they would not be allowed to collect prescription goods from other people in the store. They would not be allowed to put any notices on the notice boards. They would not be allowed to inform users about conditions inside the stores. But, stop that. This will find out.
Can I summarise it this way? They would not be allowed to carry out any union activity on the ground premises.
That's absolutely correct.
Can you do that again? Yeah, you'll know. You're working on that.
Got to a sort of stage where just felt I was going in just continuously thinking about McDonald's and believing that no one was thinking about McDonald's the whole time. It had the effect on me that I ended up dreaming about it as well, which was really horrible. And it's more like nightmares. I got a job working in the nightmare. It's quite a relief from the case because it's so busy and I work on Fridays and Saturdays from 10 at night until 2 in the morning and I get paid £64 a week and that's basically what I am. The McDriver Support Campaign was set up and run by volunteers on a shoestring from someone's bedroom and they coordinated publicity and protests against McDonald's throughout the trial. Well, the campaign has raised about £30,000 so far, all from donations from the public, and that gets spent on witness airfares and legal costs and really whatever other expenses come up. I mean, it might sound a lot until you find out that McDonald's has spent about £10 million.
During the time of our trial, McDonald's has made $3.6 billion profit. They've opened a new store every 4 hours and expanded it to 31 new countries. It's not just what goes on in McDonald's itself that's the problem. It's that key practices that they've pioneered over the last 50 years are spreading throughout society and becoming the norm.
And those two characteristics would be uniformity, conformity, and control. Control over the worker, control over the consumer, and a very homogenous culture that tries to stand out genuine iconoclasm and tries to control what can be said about these companies publicly. We've invested our lives, especially the last 3 years, of being just constant pressure from administration, paperwork, preparations and questioning and all kinds of legal complexes all down us all the time.
After court on Friday, I went to the doctor and got a certificate to say that I had the exhausted and that I needed one. I just felt totally burnt out and I wasn't really able to carry on. So we're going to be making an application for the court to be adjourned for 2 weeks. There's so much stress really that, you know, you end up taking out on yourself.
I can't do it. No, I can't. As a coach, I've got to see more difficult just to do the basics in looking after it. Because I'm just getting exhausted. And you know, when he picks up on it when he's in the way instead of just being at home doing himself.
You got it, you got to do the court case everything.
What more can you hear?
I think that's a good thing to do.
The doctor recommended that I should have a 2-week rest break, but the judge basically ignored it and ruled that I had to continue. 1st of November 1996. The Blythe is now the longest trial ever in English history. Certainly feels like it. Nearly 2.5 years already. A bit longer than McDonald's original estimate of 3 to 4 weeks. But at least the end is in sight now.
My Lord, the rearing and slaughter of animals. Here I express this all the methods by which animals to make McDonald's food are reared and slaughtered, cruel and inhumane. Will you summarize for us what is your attitude to the welfare of animals which are used to produce food for human consumption? My conceptions are that no animal will put on weight or grow unless it is healthy and consented. You can't force an animal to increase its weight. So I definitely think that we have consideration for putting the food, right? Both in terms of abattoirs and in terms of farming. head of cattle, 4,000 acres of crops, 30 employees, 7 combines, 20 tractors, 30 trucks. I was buying $1 million worth of chemicals a year. We eliminated the birds, killed the trees. My brother had died of Hodgkin's disease, which was caused by dioxin from the wheat that we're using 2,4,5-D, better known as Agent Orange in Vietnam. Doctor told me I had a tumor on the spinal cord. It was on the inside of the cord. I had less than 1 chance in a million. If somebody gives you the odds of 1 in a million, it really gets your attention. And I have to admit that I have done some things to that farm that are not very good. Well, I'm sure a lot of the meat that I sold ended up in the balance.
Our standards exceed minimum legal requirements, and if those legal requirements need to be adjusted, that's really a matter for government, it's a matter for agriculture, but I want to know about it.
We've been set some great footage taken secretly inside one of McDonald's chicken suppliers. 50 grid. We're going to show it in court today. The conditions for the poultry are outrageous. Every day, about 1,300 adult birds have their throats cut while still fully conscious. And about 1,000 unwanted chicks are gassed every week.
These creatures have lived for millennia one way, and in a few decades we've transformed how they live, what they eat, and how we eat them and where we eat them. So BSE and E. coli, O15787, and now maybe even avian flu is a logical result of fundamental transformations in how we treat animals, how we have transformed animals from sentient beings into industrial commodities and units of production.
Most people have no understanding at all that animals are being fed to animals. Have no idea that we are feeding arsenic to chickens, that we end up recycling manure back to the animals, that we feed them cement dust. Most of us have no idea in the world who produced their food, what they use on it, what it will do to us, the environment, and the animals.
The point I was making was that Mr. Walker seems to be accepting that as a result of the meat industry, the suffering of animals is inevitable. Is that correct? As a result of the meat industry, the suffering of animals is inevitable.
The answer to that is yes.
17th July 1996. Evidence finished. Yeah. Now somehow we have to condense all the evidence into a coherent closing speech to convince the judge to rule in our favour.
We've got 40,000 documents, 20,000 pages of testimony. It's impossible without a trained team of 10 lawyers to even read the potential. It's inaccurate. I mean, we're so exhausted and we're just losing concentration now at this crucial time. It's quite possible that, we could fail at the last minute. It's got to the point where I just don't have any time to try anymore, and communication's broken down between us, and we're going to shouting at him. I just have to say that, so I just go off on play I mean, it's already 2 in the morning and I'm completely knackered, and yet, tomorrow morning I've got to stand up and we've got to speak for 6 weeks non-stop. In our closing speeches, it's just an impossible task, really. Like the laws, I've been used to this country as a draconian form of mass censorship which is largely carried out in secret, largely self-allegations and released are false. The picture of working life in McDonald's painted by the leader
Ronald McDonald is one stranger parents certainly should warn their children about. We know he's got ulterior motives.
The causal relationship between diet, capital aggression, style, on the other hand, may not be.
Bearing in mind the similarity between the package and the fact sheet and McDonald's own pamphlet, it was extremely
Noted by McDonald's retweeted in campaign, the huge advertising budget as the world's largest
It's just because they do not like groups such as London Greenpeace drawing these products to the ways in which the fast food industry harm their customers, staff, and others.
One of the reasons the fast food industry grew so quickly and is still the food of the poor, ordinary working people, is that it's cheap. But it is very similar to smoking and tobacco. The real cost and the real consequences doesn't come in the moment. It comes 10, 20 years later. When you look at the cost to people's health, when you look at the cost to the environment, when you look at how our labor system has been transformed, and on and on and on. This is not cheap food. This is extremely expensive food. This food is too expensive for our society to pay for.
Because artificial incorporations control all the media, it's very easy for them to, shape the way we see the world, buy this product and you'll be happier, and for them to convince us that, there's no point fighting back and that actually everything's okay and just leave it in their hands.
Human beings are amazing. Look at all our inventiveness and creativity, all the great things, art, music. Surely we can come up with something better than this current economic system that allows a few people to get obscenely rich while half the planet has to live in poverty. For me, the most important thing is that you're awake and alert and alive and conscious and not just kind of a captive of these corporate marketing campaigns.
Right now we have governments that are doing the bidding of multinational corporations, and they are in fact the government of the world. Can they totally intimidate individuals? Can they remove our rights and freedoms? That's what this trial is all about. The trial will not be decided in high court. The trial will be decided in the courts of public opinion.
19th of June 1997, Judgment Day, the 314th and final day in court.
That's about it. There's no official.
My conclusions are as follows. It has not been proven that a diet high in fat and animal products and low in fiber
leads to a very real risk of cancer of the breast or cancer of the bowel, although it is possible that it increases the risk to some extent. The leaflet's message of a very real risk of heart disease, simply for eating at McDonald's more than just occasionally, is not justified. I do find that various of McDonald's advertisements have pretended to a positive nutritional benefit, which McDonald's food did not match. The sting of the leaflets to the effect that McDonald's exploits children by using them as more susceptible subjects of advertising to pressurize their parents into going to McDonald's is justified. It is true. The blame for liquor, which is not McDonald's restaurants' packaging and packaging, lies firmly on inconsiderate customers. Although the expansion of beef cattle production has led to the destruction of Roman forests, there is no evidence that McDonald's has taken any active part. McDonald's UK does pay its workers low wages, thereby helping to depress wages for workers in the case. McDonald's are strongly antipathetic to any idea of unionisation, but they do not have a policy of getting rid of trade union workers, as the leaflet alleges. I do not judge McDonald's position of work other than pay to be generally bad. McDonald's are culpably responsible for cruel practices in the rearing and slaughter of some of the animals that are used to produce their food. That leaves the question of the amounts of damages to be awarded to McDonald's. And says the damages is £60,000.
We appealed against the verdict later, and most overturned two of the key rulings. The appeal court ruled that it is fair to say that working conditions are bad, and crucially, that eating too much McDonald's food is linked to heart disease. And then they reduced the damages to £40,000.
Defend the public's right to criticise multinational corporations.
As far as we're concerned, what would have been a loss is if we hadn't fought this case and people have been intimidated.
We are, as you can imagine, broadly satisfied with the judgment given this morning. It's my responsibility to protect our reputation, and that's exactly what we've done. Very serious allegations were made about our company. They were proven to be false.
They have the libel team, the expert team of lawyers working for the last 5 years behind the scenes and in court for them. That's where the victory lies, in the fact that Dave and Helen won almost half of this case with those of the facts against them.
Now, I don't remember the exact words. When I have a chance to read the specifics, I'll be able to comment there. I don't know that he said those in that context. I'll have to look at the complete document.
A judge has ruled in our favour on all those counts what action has the legal system done against McDonald's. That's the question we have to be asking.
Well, this wasn't a matter of cost. It wasn't a matter of damages. It was a matter of establishing the truth. That's what we set out to do. That's exactly what we did.
We're not going to pay damages. McDonald's don't deserve a penny, and in any event, we haven't got the money.
June 1997.
Today is National Science Day. There's going to be protests outside over 500 of McDonald's UK stores and locked around the world too. I haven't seen the last of the leaflet.
McDonald's had a rough time post-McLaughlin, and McDonald's experienced its first loss, I think, in 2002. I think in a long-term sense, they're in big trouble, and I think that McLaughlin had a great deal to do with that in terms of unleashing this torrent of criticism. It's not as though there are people setting out to tarnish their image. It's just the reality of their business practices are becoming known. Some of the issues that they had were great taxes and junk food and gas prices were not widely debated 10, 15, 20 years ago. But now they are mainstream. The case appears to have all been different McDonald's tactics. Since the case, I don't think McDonald's has even threatened anybody with money. I would see them in similar circumstances.
Well, I didn't want to go to jail.
错的有些话写不太适合，不是新闻题，有些话写的是，
But, you know, I think I would have been prepared to do it just because otherwise the alternative is to give in to their intimidation. I think they just realised that it would be a complete PR disaster to have them jailed and, you know, just floating about publicity to them, so they gave up. And then on top of that, they've never collected a penny in damages. I mean, obviously we weren't going to pay, but they haven't even tried to come after. After the trial finished, I carried on working in a nightclub for several years. Then I spent a couple of years training as an electrician and qualifying as an electrician. I'm also involved in a housing board, so a group of us got together so that we could have more affordable rates and more control over our own housing in the process of trying to buy a bit of land and then build our own houses.
In some ways, McLaughlin was a bit of a sidetrack for me because my main activity has always been in my local community. Obviously, it was something that we were successful in getting £1 million for traffic calming throughout the whole estate. So the kids can play in the street and the kids can cross safely.
Oh, actually, that's an actor, Jack Button, believe it or not. Although we're acting, yeah, being creative.
This is September 2004. Spain to Strasbourg this day for the European hearing. We've beaten McDonald's, now it's the UK government still.
Dave and Helen are now taking their case to the European Court of Human Rights, which is the most important court in all of Europe, and will seek to argue that UK law
is in breach of European Convention on Human Rights, so the stakes could not be higher. The European Court is going to have to consider a number of fundamental issues about English libel law. First is the obvious unfair system that allows one party to have huge amounts of resources, lawyers, and the other to have none without any legal aid. It's only for libel suits that you can't get legal aid. In every other kind of legal case, legal aid is there to achieve the balance that's required for justice. For me, the significance of the McLibel trial is really about, this worldwide movement now to oppose entrenched corporate power and corporate wrongdoing. There's no one person responsible, but there's no question that when Helen said no, it really fueled the fire. I'm not going to bet you money that McDonald's will ban tomorrow, or that we will suddenly transform our society into a compassionate and caring and humane one tomorrow. But when I was born, there was segregation in the South, and black people couldn't ride the same buses or sit at the same tables with white people, and Nelson Mandela was in prison when I was a kid, and so things absolutely can change.
Okay, so we know you don't like corporations, but what's the alternative?
The alternative is basically taking control of our own lives, our own communities, our own workplaces, and making all decisions that affect our lives and affect the environment. Deciding what happens to the resources, deciding what work needs to be done.
People say, oh, it could never work, you just have people going around and doing murdering and stealing and things like that. But actually, that's what happens in this society now. You've got corporations and wealthy individuals that own vast swathes of the planet and deny other people access to them. And it's just basically stolen from everybody else.
Obviously, there's always going to be problems in any kind of group of people or society or whatever, but you want to remove all the unnecessary problems. For example, poverty in the midst of plenty, or some people owning 50 houses and other people don't have a home to live in.
Most so-called antisocial behaviour is actually people fighting over the crumbs that are thrown from the table. The real people who are behaving antisocially are those that control all the resources and deprive other people of what should be shared amongst us all.
If we remove corporations and government to care only about profits and power and, take things into our own hands, obviously that's basically transforming society. That's a revolution, but not on a single day, over a period of years, building up strong grassroots movements until one day we can take over all the decision making ourselves and look after our planet.
September 2004, European hearing this morning. Kind of ironic that we finally got legal aid, but now we've got a whole legal team with us. Here has to do all the talking. We're not even allowed to speak. Assistant solicitor.
Businesses are wonderful pieces. And this is anti-assistants are legal. And this is not Stephen's
I've put in all the additional bits of discussion on tonight. I've cut out, in order to take it 30 minutes, the bits I had to cut out are present in its entirety. I won't even remove. The second dealing with overspeaking things. I don't think I'm dealt without the facts and comments and all that. They're not going to be I never understood that anyway. So we'll leave that out.
It's long been recognised that it would be wrong for central and local government to be able to sue for libel because it restricts free speech. And we're questioning before the European Court whether that rule should be extended to multinationals. they often have more power and wealth than small countries around the world. They can get their message across through the television, through other media, through advertising. And they don't need to go to school through ancient non-fair libel proceedings.
Oh, it's great. The government promised totally on the defensive, certainly on